Welcome to the African Continental Channel. The title of this video reads, "The FBI charges a Nigerian government official for taking a bribe of $2.1 million to let go of a $2.4 billion liability owed to Nigeria." Yes, you heard me right. The FBI has charged a corrupt Nigerian government official for taking a bribe of $2.1 million from a private oil company called Adex Petroleum, to help this company escape its $2.4 billion liability owed to Nigeria and Nigerians.
We are an international oil and gas exploration and production company committed to maximizing long-term economic and social value where we operate and beyond.
This story would be shocking to any sane human being, but not to many Nigerians because the corruption in the country is so palpably endemic. No wonder the country is ranked one of the most corrupt in the world. People who aren't familiar with the corruption in many developing countries might ask, how can this type of massive corruption happen in a third-world country like Nigeria where there is huge economic hardship? Millions of people live below the poverty line, high unemployment, high level of insecurity, etc. The answer is simple: yes, it does happen because the country's leadership has created an enabling environment for people in power to loot the common wealth of the citizens without any consequences. After stealing the country's funds and resources, these criminal politicians will bribe the judiciary with part of the illicit funds, and later proceed to enjoy their spoils. Unfortunately, most of these stolen funds are laundered and saved in the bank accounts of these criminal politicians in the West. In other words, some Western countries are complicit in the criminal activities of most politicians from the Third World, especially in Africa. Oil was first discovered in Nigeria in 1956 when Nigeria was still under the British colonial rule. On 1 October 1960, Nigeria gained its independence from Britain. The discovery of oil boosted the new country's economic growth, and in subsequent years the politicians of the newborn nation devised a plan to start embezzling the revenue generated from this resource. As I said before, most of these looted funds are laundered into the bank accounts of these politicians in the West. On 1 April 1977, under the dictatorial regime of General Olusegun Obasanjo, the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, or the NNPC, was founded as a merger of the Nigerian National Oil Corporation and the Federal Ministry of Petroleum and Energy Resources to continue petroleum exploration and production in Nigeria. In a truly democratic society, the wealth of the country is used for the development of the country and its citizens. But, in the case of Nigeria, the revenue generated for the country's resources is shared amongst the elite, which primarily constitutes less than 2% of the population. The Nigerian politicians have deliberately crippled the Nigerian middle class in order to have the common citizens at their disposal, which they often use as tools to cause chaos during their fraudulent election campaign that brings the corrupt politicians into office. In other words, there is a deliberate effort by the politicians to keep Nigerians poor in order to have them at their mercy. Nigeria is currently ranked the second most corrupt country in the world. The leaders aren't concerned about the well-being of their citizens. All they care about is how to enrich themselves and their unborn generation. As you can see, the main topic of this video reads, "The FBI charges a Nigerian government official for taking a bribe of $2.1 million to let go of a $2.4 billion liability to Nigeria." This might sound insane to any sane human being, but for Nigerian politicians, it is a completely normal practice. Everything is about corruption in Nigeria. The ruling political class operate like a criminal cartel, and the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party or the PDP, which is very similar in nature to the ruling party, ruled the country for 16 years from 1999 to 2015. This opposition party is currently doing everything in its power to dislodge the ruling party. Its intention is not to come and fix the ills of the country, but to come and start plundering the country's resources from where the outgoing administration will stop. In the last presidential election held on February 25, 2023, the Nigerian youth said, enough was enough and rallied behind a presidential candidate called Peter Obi, who ran under the umbrella of the Labour Party. According to many Nigerians, Peter Obi is one of a handful of incorrupt politicians in Nigeria due to his antecedent when he was the governor of Anambra State, a southeastern state of Nigeria. Mr. Obi was to effect an unprecedented change in the country's political history. But, unfortunately, the election was marred with irregularities, intimidation, voters' apathy, voters' apprehension, rigging, etc. The current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, emerged as the winner amid allegations of electoral malpractice. The current president himself is not free from criminal antecedents according to the country's main opposition party, the PDP, and the Labour Party, or the LP, whose followers are known as the Obedients. It might sound idiotic for any sane human being to take a bribe of $2.1 million to help a foreign company evade a liability of $2.4 billion, but this is the height a Nigerian government official can go, not to only degrade his country, but to dehumanize the citizens of his country. This is just one of the thousands of similar stories which never come to the notice of the general public. The common citizens of Nigeria being at the mercy of the rogue politicians is not by default, but by design. The politicians will do anything to maintain the status quo because that is what keeps them afloat. They enjoy dehumanizing the common citizens while they live largely. As I have said before, the West isn't exempted from all these because it would have been almost impossible for Nigerian politicians to engage in corruption of this scale without the involvement of the West. We have criticized Mr. Paulinus Iheanacho Okoronkwo for having taken a bribe of $2.1 million to help a foreign company elude its financial responsibilities of billions of dollars owed to Nigeria. I believe it would be surprising for us to learn that the current Nigerian president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, did exactly the same thing, dropping a lawsuit worth billions of euros lodged by the previous administration in exchange for his son-in-law to gain a lucrative deal in the respondent company. Take a listen.
The Nigerian president has been racking up controversies ever since he took office. The last one was about an oil field, an offshore oil block called OPL 245. It was a disputed field bought by European oil giants Eni and Shell. There were corruption allegations. Nigeria had sued the oil companies. The case was pending in international tribunals. But last month, the president of Nigeria restored the fields to the Europeans. He ended all legal disputes over the offshore field and called for the matter to be resolved amicably. Now, you can choose to look at this as Tinubu moving forward, as him dropping a long dispute and getting back to business. Or you may wonder about the timing. Eni, one of the European oil firms involved here, signed another deal recently. This happened a few months ago. They sold their Nigerian onshore assets to a local firm, a firm called Onado PLC. The sale was very beneficial for the Nigerian oil company. Its total oil reserves doubled after it bought Eni's assets. And guess who is the chief executive of the Onado group? A man called Adewale Tinubu, or Wale as he's popularly known. The last name is not a coincidence. He is related to the Nigerian president too. He is the president's nephew. So a European oil company sells its business to Tinubu's nephew. The nephew's company benefits, and Nigeria drops litigation against the Europeans soon after. What does that sound like to you? Allegations of nepotism and corruption are hounding the president. But that's not all.
Not until Nigeria gets a selfless leader who is sensitive to the plights of poor Nigerians, the problem of corruption in Nigeria is only going to persist. Like, share the video, and subscribe for more related content. Thanks for watching.